I was re-watching the 2025 Austrian Grand Prix because I'm lonely and I got nothing else to do, and I was wondering if there was something that Oscar could have done to make the overtake on Lando stick. And there are three areas of improvement. I'm not going to call them mistakes because I'm rooting for Oscar Piastri to win the championship this season. There are three areas of improvement across the entire race where Oscar could have done things differently to make that overtake stick. And the first one is staring at you right in the face, lap 11, the first and the most effective overtaking opportunity, in my opinion. The fucked up thing that Oscar did here was overtaking Lando before turn 3. What you need to do, because in Austria, there are three DRS zones, which means you have to make the overtake at the last DRS zone. Because if you overtake before the braking zone in turn 4, then you can hug the apex, you can force your opponent to go wide, and then you can use slipstream to your advantage to kind of pull away in the next few corners and then have that advantage and retain the position. But if you make the overtake between T2 and T3, then you will be ahead of your opponent at this detection point, at the second DRS detection zone. And as a result of that, they will have the upper hand between T3 and T4, and then with the power of DRS, they're going to make the overtake. And that's exactly what has happened with Oscar Piastri, because he made the overtake before the arrival of turn 3's DRS detection point. And because of that, he was ahead of Lando at the DRS detection point. And because of that, Lando had the DRS between T3 and T4. The king of Red Bull, Max Verstappen, knows this very well, and this is a still from the 2019 Austrian Grand Prix. Here he is making an overtake on Sebastian Vettel. As you can see, he could have made the overtake before this DRS detection point, but he's waiting patiently so that he will cross the DRS detection line after Sebastian does, so that between T3 and T4 he will have the DRS. And this is not the only instance in which Verstappen did this in the 2019 Austrian Grand Prix. He also did this once again to Charles Leclerc. Let me see if I can find the exact time. I don't want to play this video because I don't want to get a copyright strike. Here, just a little bit behind. So the video is muted, so I think we will be okay. As you can see, Verstappen kind of lifted off a little bit. He could have made the overtake here again, and Verstappen and Leclerc had some amazing DRS battles. If you remember in 2022 in Saudi Arabia, in Bahrain also, like these two guys play these DRS games, and Verstappen knows it well. Even though he has the inside line, Verstappen is refraining from just sending it and hugging the apex quickly because he knows the advantage DRS is going to give him between T3 and T4. Obviously, he knows this because he's the king of the Red Bull. He knows that this is the best place to make the overtake and make the overtake stick. And Oscar Piastri, as I mentioned, he said that in the heat of the battle, after the race has concluded, he said that in the heat of the battle, whatever overtaking opportunities come, you got to take it as it is. And I totally understand his point. You live and you learn. The second area of improvement for Oscar Piastri happened on lap 20, where he had that lockup moment at turn 4. He just sends a Hail Mary move. I'm just finding the moment. Yes, this one, this exact one, right? He sends a Hail Mary move, and to try to make this overtake stick, he was way behind Lando Norris. He was not even close. And what happened is he just cooked his tires. He had a flat spot on the radio. He said that immediately after Lando, because after this Lando pitted, and then Piastri's race engineer told him that, you know what, let's see what your pace is in clean air. And then Piastri said that I have a flat spot. It's not that bad, but I have a flat spot. And what happened is this screwed him for the remainder of the stint, which lasted for 4 extra laps, I think. If he hadn't had a flat spot, he could have made some time or lost less time to Norris. And as a result of that, he could have run those medium tires a little bit longer, which would have given a tire advantage to Oscar in the hard stint, in the second stint that they have done. As you can see, the few laps here that Piastri has extended, it didn't amount to much in the long run, because Again, the amount of time you lose while driving a pair of used tires, not a pair, like a set of used tires, which were receiving the hot air from Norris's McLaren for the first 20 laps of the race, is not really that much. So when you know that you have been following Norris very closely and your tires are getting cooked, why did you send this Hail Mary move? And again, he just got a little bit impatient, a little bit desperate because he tried it for so long, and Norris was good, man. Credit to Norris. He dipped the wheel a little bit in the gravel traps. I think in the last couple of corners he did it. But credit to Norris for absorbing all of the pressure from Oscar Piastri. And Piastri got a little bit impatient and just sends it down, then locks up. And this extra few laps that he did, it just hurt his overall race. But again, as I said, this is an area of improvement. You live and you learn. The third thing he could have done differently is right here in strategy. So right now you have to analyze it from a technical standpoint that, okay, even if you are marginally faster, I think Oscar Piastri was faster in the race stream than Lando. Even if you are faster, it's difficult to make the overtake because Norris is not making enough mistakes or mistakes that are significant enough to help you get the pass done completely. So what you can do, the only option you have is to have a completely different alternate strategy. Maybe go for a one stop. Maybe reduce the second stint of hard tires to significantly less and then go to the last set of mediums quickly a few laps earlier, like something like Leclerc has done. Leclerc's hard stint is much more shorter compared to Piastri and also Lando Norris. He extended the first set of medium a little bit deeper, something again Piastri could have done. If he hadn't flat spotted his tires, he probably would have a little bit extra life left, but I doubt it because he was pushing for the first 20 laps anyways. But either way, he could have done it. And then, this stint of the hards, he could have just pushed through it, make the tires toast. And then for the last stint, you could go for a long stint in the medium, or maybe you go medium, medium hard, like George Russell did. You do a first stint of medium, you shed those tires, you go on another set of medium, destroy those tires, and the last extra long set of the hard tires. That could have helped you because in the last set of hards, the track will be more rubbered in. And even if the track temperature would have increased slightly, there will be less fuel in the car. So you have to think about these things. And when you mimic the identical strategy, because like after the second stint of the hards, he pitted almost on the same lap. Like one lap later, he pitted for the medium tires. That's not enough to give you an advantage. And also then there were the back markers. But even if there were no back markers, I think Norris had enough in the tank to go ahead and defend against Piastri because his tires were only one lap older. So again, if you want to make the overtake and you tried for 20 laps, you were right on Norris's gearbox. Big shout out to Norris for absorbing all of the pressure, and also a bigger shout out to Oscar Piastri because it's difficult to follow around. All of the drivers complain about dirty air and shit like that. Not Oscar. The 2025 world champion doesn't complain about dirty air and hot air coming from the car ahead. Either way, when you have tried this for 20 laps, you know that it's gonna be hard if you don't have a significant tire advantage. So you have to make things happen. You have to make a little bit of a different decision and kind of go a very alternate strategy. There are plenty of teams who have done medium, medium, hard. Not many of them, but some of them have done different kinds of strategy. Fernando Alonso is a master of this. Both of his tires were used. Either way, these are the three areas of improvement for Oscar Piastri. The first one is to do what Max Verstappen does, overtake before the turn for braking zone only, nowhere else. Because if you overtake here, then your opponent will have the DRS between T3 and T4 and they will be closer to you because you just made the overtake, which means they're closer to you and they're going to get you back before T4. The second thing is don't get desperate. Shit happens. It's difficult to overtake, especially if you and your teammate have the same car and your teammate has been very, very quick on that particular weekend. And also, Red Bull Ring is a good track for Lando. He had his first podium here and he had success here. He was fighting for the race victory in 2024 until Max Verstappen and Lando Norris had that collision. So you have to kind of understand that as well. So a lot of deep thinking things, especially from the strategy perspective, because if you mimic the same strategy as your teammate, you are not going to have that much of an advantage. And here, extending the medium stint with a flat spotted tire, flat spotted front right, it was definitely not the ideal strategy, because a few laps of advantage on a hard tire stint is not going to give you that much of an offset in grip. Maybe on mediums, maybe on softs, definitely on softs, and maybe on mediums, but probably not on hards, despite having higher track temperature on that track. 4 laps of offset is not going to give you that much of a grip advantage. But again, not mistakes, just slight areas of improvement that Oscar needs to look into, and he always improves quickly. In 2024, he was not that good in qualifying, and in 2025, he seems to have fixed that. So I truly believe that the areas of improvement that I just highlighted about picking the right spot for overtaking like Max does, and then not getting desperate, and then thinking of the long run, and then splitting the strategy, these things will be fixed by the time we go to Norris's backyard in Silverstone. Turn 6, all right, after the Wellington Straight, that's exactly where you need to make the overtakes. Okay, that's the best place to make the overtakes, because even if you are side by side going into T6, you can just hang it around the outside, and then you will have the inside line to T7, and then you can just do a Max Verstappen special, which is hug the apex, take a wider exit to conveniently shove your opponent off the track momentarily, because you have the inside line, and those are the FIA rules. I don't give a fuck about papaya rules at this point, because papaya rules are a subset of FIA rules. If it is legal, it is in the papaya rules. So even if you are side by side going into T6, you will have the inside line going into T7, and then you can just shove them off, do the Max Verstappen special, compromise their exit, and then you can just pull away a little bit. So obviously this is something that Oscar Piastri can keep in mind going into Silverstone, and no big deal. You did everything you could. You hung with him for the first 20 laps behind him. You didn't give a shit if there was dirty air or whatever it is. Your tires were hot and cooked, and you're still there. So overall, it's a great weekend for Oscar Piastri. It was just Lando's day. That's all I'm saying. And I'm pretty sure Oscar Piastri is going to win the Silverstone Grand Prix. I'm rooting for Piastri. I'm on the Piastri bandwagon. We're going to do this in 2025. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.